Good to see you. I do hope that you're enjoying your Saturday afternoon. This is WTV Sports Center. Always a pleasure to be your host. My name is Elijah Mwangi. Today we want to do it differently. For quite a number of shows, we've been focusing on what's happening in England. Yes, English Premier League, but now this weekend there are no matches lined up. But we have a lot. Here in the country, Harambee Stars are now shining after beating Mauritius in a 7-goal showdown. 5-2 was the final score. And now to discuss some of those stories, I'm joined by one of the most controversial sports writers here in the country. And if you want to exactly know what I'm talking about, you should read Touchline and Sportica.com. These are sports blogs that deals with all the latest in terms of sports. I'm talking about none other than Collins Ogutu. Thank you very much, Collins.
Thank you.
The most controversial sports writer we have around.
I don't know whether I'm controversial.
But I read your articles and you are always hitting on other teams and supporting Manchester City. Why should I not call you
it's
one
like
of the most
looking for
controversial?
controversy from my blogs. Anyway, just read them. It's good you read them. But I don't think I'm controversial.
Now let's go to some of the matches that have been played so far. And today I want us to get a bit local and focus on Harambee Stars. Yeah. They seem to be shining. And I would like to start the show by asking you, is it that Harambee Stars are very good or just we managed to get a weak team?
We managed to get a weak team. Harambee Stars is not shining. I think Mauritius is a very small team. It is positions number 148 according to FIFA rankings. So I think Harambee Stars was lucky enough to beat Mauritius. So they're not shining. That team was weak.
But looking at 5 goals and they just managed to score 2, that is Mauritius, yeah. I think our boys deserve a pat on the back.
They deserve a pat on the back. We've not refuted that fact. But we should not cover our faces right now and say Harambee Stars is now a big team. There's some Brazil squad that can now hit on every other team. I think that was luck. And I'm sure they're going to repeat it again come Sunday. But I'm worried if they meet Cape Verde, if they repeat what they did.
Let's not, even before we go to the Sunday's match, that is tomorrow when they will be playing Mauritius and maybe Cape Verde thereafter. Yeah. I want us to look at the match that was. Who do you think, is it Wanyama? Who are the game changers and why was the scoreboard reading 5-2 at the end of it all, according to how you watched the game?
According to how I watched the game and my analysis, the game changer was the mentality of the whole team. We cannot pick on one person and say he changed the whole game. I think Harambee Stars squad, the whole squad knew very well that they have registered quite a number of poor performances, and this was the only opportunity to save themselves and of course save Bobby Williamson. So I think the whole mentality of getting into the game and saying, come on guys, we have to do it. That's what helped them to come up with 5 goals.
The mentality, the winning mentality.
The winning mentality.
Okay, really, okay, let's now look at the match, the return leg. What do you expect from that match?
I expect a 5-0 win in favor of Harambee Stars. I realize that Mauritius is a very disjointed team. So when they come home to Nairobi, we don't expect to concede. I mean, we as Harambee Stars, we don't expect to concede any goals. The goals we conceded were some sort of poor defensive management. So when they come, we expect to thump them even more. But I'm worried something might as well happen. You know, we know the Harambee Stars we are talking about here. Yeah, it's not a surprise. And you can be surprised that Harambee Stars decides to draw with Mauritius.
One of the main reasons why I say and why people maybe take you, especially on social media, as one of the most controversial sports writer, is because just 2 weeks ago, you did an article, Collins, saying that Bob Williamson is being given a lot of money for nothing. Yeah. Now, you see results?
I don't see results. I think I tweeted yesterday immediately after that game and I said 5-2 does not justify 2.5 million Bob Williamson's salary. He needs to do more. I mean, you cannot wake up one day and win a game and then now you're a king. Everyone talks about you. No, he has a lot to do. And as far as I am concerned, I think that money has not been justified. So, okay, we wish Harambee Stars all the best. We look at the whole team. You look at the likes of Haron Shakava, who scored his debut goal in Harambee Stars squad. You look at Ayub Timbe, who scored a direct corner kick for the first time in Harambee Stars squad. Victor Wanyama is back with high spirit after thumping Chelsea back in London.
Okay, it's okay.
So I think the whole squad has some good mentality. Yeah.
Now looking at motivation or maybe what's affecting the performance of the Kenyan team, that is Harambee Stars, do you think the motivation, what they get, really counts on the results that we also get?
In terms of what?
In terms of, in some clubs you hear that some players are not paid as well. So do you think Harambee Stars are really appreciated in the best way that they need to be appreciated so that we can expect such results each and every time?
They are not appreciated. We all know that. The only surprise over this week that we've had is that Sam Nyamweya has decided to pay Olunga's university fees. I think that's a good move because Olunga scored the final goal. According to Sam Nyamweya, the president of FKF, Olunga was man of the match in Mauritius. So to appreciate Olunga, he has said he's going to clear all his fees in the university, Technical University of Kenya or wherever, I think, yeah, something like that. That's a good move to appreciate players, but it's a very bad move according to me, because if you take a player from a squad of 11 and say, I'm going to sponsor you because you were man of the match, what are you telling the rest of the team? What if they meet in Mauritius on a Sunday and decide, now let Olunga play? We are not going to play unless someone pays our university school fees. I think they're not appreciated well, but the little moves that we're seeing are a little encouraging.
Wow, quite interesting. And you've just said that you'd not be shocked if Harambee Stars draws with Mauritius here at home.
Yes. The only breaking news will be that Harambee Stars has scored 5 goals past Mauritius, like they did over the week. That was breaking news.
Anyway, they say that the optimistic people came up with the idea of making the aeroplane, but then pessimistic people decided to come up with a parachute. I don't know which side you are on, but you can always tell us what you think concerning tomorrow's match. This is the return leg between Kenya and Mauritius. Our SMS line is 20058 and our Twitter handle is WTVKE using the hashtag Sports Center. Now let's go to after tomorrow, because we are kind of so sure that now Harambee Stars are past Mauritius. Yeah. Now the next game, if that comes to pass, is Cape Verde. Tell me more about Cape Verde.
Cape Verde is a small team, according to its name, all right?
Oh, okay, okay.
But according to the style of football they play, they're far much beyond Harambee Stars. And I think that's where the real test is now going to come. After passing through Mauritius, we now get to Cape Verde. Are we able to beat Cape Verde? Do we have the team depth? Does Harambee Stars have a squad that can rotate these players? Remember, before the Mauritius game, Bobby Williamson had to ask a lot of players from the squad. One of them is Jesse Were, our very own top scorer in the National League, because of indiscipline cases. A lot of players, around 6 or 7 players, have been removed from the squad. So we wonder whether we have the depth good enough to face Cape Verde. Yeah? So whether we face them home or away, I'm not pessimistic. But sometimes it's good to say facts, put facts the way they are. Yeah? If you look at the games Harambee Stars are playing, okay, it's not a whole teamwork. It's not a whole teamwork, yeah? It is a team where some people say, okay, I'm skilled. Wanyama says I'm strong. Olunga says I'm good. If you give me the ball, I'll score. Wanyama says, if you give me the ball right here, I'll pass it. You know, that teamwork is a little still missing, all right? The whole cooperation between the players. So sometimes when we get to Cape Verde, I think it's going to be a very tough test for us. It's really going to be a tough test. And I'm sure we might as well be surprised of the results.
And we're talking about the 2018 World Cup.
Yeah, qualifiers.
So what you are simply saying is that it's too early to celebrate.
It is too early. There's nothing to celebrate. There's nothing to smile about. A win over Mauritius cannot make me smile.
For me, I'm looking at Harambee Stars now. They are past Mauritius. We are headed for Cape Verde. So if the Kenyan team is to beat Cape Verde, maybe, just maybe, what must they do?
They must play some good game, extraordinary from what they've been playing. And then Bobby Williamson must stop being casual with the national team. Yeah, he must justify what he earns in terms of salary. He must make sure that players are disciplined. You know, if you get stories like players carry alcohol to the dressing room, then you wonder, are they coached by a matatu driver? That's a coach. You know, we have an international coach. Yes. And then you have a group of players who drink alcohol in the dressing room, and you are the coach, and we pay you 2.5 million shillings. I think he needs to talk to all these players, and then discipline should be paramount. Then if we do that, then the rest of the things will come.
We are talking about the big match that is Kenya playing Mauritius second leg tomorrow with Mauritius. The first match favored Harambee Stars because 5 goals to 2. That was a big thing for Harambee Stars because for a very long time we are used to see them lose. Now at this point we take a short break, but don't go far because we shall be right back with more stories to discuss, including FKF elections. We have rugby, Benjamin Ayimba at Crossroads, and also we'll hear a call in stake, Arsenal versus Manchester last weekend. We must talk about that. Stay tuned. Welcome back. We are glad that you are still watching WTV Sports Center. We are talking about the ever-changing, sizzling world of football. Talking of the ever-changing world because last week, Harambee Stars, the team that we are used to being beaten each and every time, was smiling in Mauritius after beating them 5 goals to 2. So that formed the first part of our discussion. Collins, FKF elections are really gearing up.
Yes.
We have the likes of Sam Nyamoya still wants to retain his seat, some new blood coming up, the likes of Semilango and all that, Nick Mwendwa. So maybe I should start by asking your honest opinion concerning Nyamoya still wanting to prolong his term. Do you think it's fair for him to proceed, or what's your take on that?
I will observe it in two different ways. One, Nyamoya is exercising his freedom. That's number one. He has all the rights to vie for the next season. But then, according to me, I think Nyamoya has spoiled our game, and it's long. I think he should leave. He should just let FKF be. Sometimes it's good to have what is called a paradigm shift in the whole slot of FKF. So, for me, I think vying for the next term at the helm of FKF. With all the messes we've seen, I think that's too far-fetched. That's far-fetched for Nyamoya. I think he should just let it be and let's try another change.
Looking at the other candidates who are coming up and not basically talking from a point like you are supporting a certain candidate, but looking at their profiles, the likes of Semilango, we've seen him at one point giving money to some of these players. Nyamoya, you just mentioned in the first part that he's saying, I'm going to support Olunga in this and this. Do you think they have passion for football in Kenya, or it's just work?
They don't have passion for football. I think Semelango and Nick Mwendwa are little relevant to this race because one, Semelango, I heard he was supporting some small club in Nairobi, and then Nick Mwendwa runs Kariobangi Sharks. Yeah, so that enough gives them the right to go ahead and try to manage football in Kenya. But that is not good enough. We have to look at the strategies. We have to look at the manifestos. What do they have for us? But if you ask me, I think these people, the old hullabaloo about FKF is all about the greed of the money that is available at FKF. That is why Nyamoya doesn't want to go away. That's why the likes of those other people you've mentioned want to come in with a lot of force. Because if they were genuine enough, I expect Semelango, Nick Mwendwa and Sam Shuley to rally behind one person and say we are supporting you. But if all of them want to be presidents of FKF, then it shows that there is something behind what we see. And that's what we are questioning. Are they genuine enough to run FKF, or they are coming for money from FIFA? Remember FIFA gives us money.
Talking of money from FIFA, how lucrative is this position?
It is very lucrative. First of all, it is independent. Yeah? That is why Nyamoya can mess and nobody questions. The only person who can question Nyamoya is FIFA. The rest of the people cannot. Even the president cannot question him. Then number two, there's a lot of money in that docket. So if you are corrupt in mind, you must vie for that post so that at least you can find how to chop off some little money and try to help members of your family. So I think FKF is a rich docket. Then it also has a lot of allowances. You remember you travel to Zurich, you travel to where, to sit in meetings that a lot of them don't even understand. I wonder whether any of them played football when they were young. But then, okay, FKF generally is a rich docket. That's why all these people, you see them struggling to find space.
You see them talking of being independent. I remember when there was this case of, Kenya Premier League and all this having two parallel leagues running. There was even at one point intervention from the cabinet secretary in charge of sports, Hassan Wario. And just make me understand, what is the role of the CS? Because now you're coming to the election, a list of clubs to participate in these elections has been released, but there is mixed reactions concerning that. So what is the role that the CS, Wario himself, should play in all these things about elections?
Wario has very little role to play in terms of FKF elections. I think his role mostly is advisory, yeah? But we cannot stop anybody from vying. He will only come and, tell those guys, like I remember over the week they had a meeting where, by the way, according to Registrar of Sports in Kenya, FKF does not exist. That was the news I had over the week. I don't know how genuine that was.
Yeah,
there was a meeting
because there was also some issue about the constitution that is
the constitution
being used,
of
the legality of the existence of FKF.
So I think the whole drama simply tells us that the CS has very little power, because if he did have some good power, he would put this house in order. But the fact that FKF is more independent, it doesn't depend on the government. The government has really nothing to tell FKF, puts Hassan Wario at a position where he cannot really make some substantive decisions.
Now, Collins, you've been very good in predictions.
Yes.
Looking at the last 4 episodes that we've done here at WTV Sports Center in terms of matches.
Yes.
Now, still remaining with FKF first, looking at the candidates, whom do you think has an edge, and from where you see it, whom do you think
from where I see it and from my analysis that I've done, if I was to vote, I would vote none. But because you've put me on spot to really say whom I think might win, I think Sam Cholet is a good candidate.
Sam Cholet?
Yes.
May the best candidate
but
win.
But we're not campaigning for him. That's my opinion.
That's Colin's opinion. But this is Sports Center, and we encourage feedback. Tell us what you think concerning the FKF elections that are just coming up. And we still have Sam Nyamoya still there, and he has been there for quite some time. But other candidates are also coming up, the likes of Semilango and Nick Mwendwa and Sam Cholet. Now, we want to shift gears a bit from football to matters rugby, because after Safari Sevens about a week ago, now Morans and Shujaa really came up, and now there is a concern because we have some players that are really training with their clubs, and then some maybe sitting back relaxing. So now this brings the point of experience amongst the players. So if Benjamin Ayimba is really to do good in the coming series in South Africa, do you think he should go for young blood or rather use the experienced players, the likes of Oscar Oma?
Mix the young players with the experienced ones, you get good results. But if you go with all of them are experienced, I think at some point they will be worn out, all right? If you go with young squad, they don't have the experience. So I think if you mix, take some few experienced players and take some talented young players and put them together, I think the whole thing will work for him. I think that's what he needs to do.
So that's Benjamin Ayimba. This is the coach for Kenya National Sevens rugby team. And the team is headed to South Africa for the next series. Quite at crossroads there to decide who to choose and who not to. But now, let's go again to matters football. We all speak football, they say. For a very long time, my friend here, Collins Ogutu, the most controversial sports writer that we can have around at the moment, has always got predictions right, but not last weekend. Arsenal was playing Manchester United, and his prediction did not come to pass. And this is the point where I would really like to put you on spot and get to know your take. Manchester United had a dismal performance last weekend, and from your own assessment, you had predicted a draw maybe, but within the first 20 minutes, Manchester United was really struggling to keep afloat. What happened, Collins?
To summarize the whole game, Manchester United scored an E. If it was a student,
I think that's being so mean.
No, what else can you give Manchester United? How do you concede 3 goals in the first 20 minutes? in such a game, in a game of that magnitude.
I think the problem was with Van Gaal. You know, even from the start, you could see something was wrong. In fact, even the first 5 minutes.
I think he
when you
messed
saw
up the
Young
team.
playing, you know.
Young has never been a defender, for God's sake. Young has never been a defender. And then you put Young to play right back, number 2. Yeah, after releasing Raphael to go to some other club, I don't know whether he went to Bayer Leverkusen or where. Then you put Young and you have Valencia, who has been at least trying to contain that position. That was the first mess. Yeah. So when Alexis Sanchez and Theo Walcott, I mean, sometimes you wonder whether people use common sense. You know, you have Theo Walcott, who runs like never before. Then you have Alexis Sanchez, yeah, and then you put Young, and you know Young is a natural winger. That was the first mistake. And then United kind of had this mentality of we've been beating this team, so it's going to be the same. So let's just go. So they allowed some sort of complacence in the first 10 minutes, and they met the wrath of Arsene Wenger.
Collins, you are now shifting the blame to the coaches, saying Van Gaal made one of the greatest mistakes in football. Last weekend, he was not the only person making mistakes. We had the likes of Brendan Rodgers being sacked from Liverpool, dismal performance there. Dick Advocaat left Sunderland. Whom do you think is the next person to leave? And what is the position of Jose Mourinho, with Chelsea being beaten 3-1 by Southampton?
That's a good question, and I will answer it cleverly, so that someone doesn't say I'm a fan of what and what. Now, the next coach that we expect to leave is Steve McLaren of Newcastle. That's the next coach that is likely to leave, more likely than Jose Mourinho. But I think Aston Villa is going to send Mourinho home. If Mourinho fails to win against Aston Villa on 17th of October, I guarantee you he's going to leave. So I think between Steve McLaren and Jose Mourinho, it's only a question of time and who gets cleverer than the other before the axe comes. Because remember, Chelsea owner Roman Abramovich had started visiting the training ground to ascertain what's going on. So if Abramovich does that twice or 3 times, there's a problem.
And Jose Mourinho has been has been building his case that he's saying the referees are afraid of making decisions. He has always maintained that. Do you think he has a case?
He has no case. Okay, he blames everybody. He would even blame the president of Kenya if he loses. Who doesn't know Mourinho? He runs away from the problems, and that is why Chelsea could as well be beaten in the next game.
I know. We hope that doesn't happen. Of course, now we come to the end of our show, but you can always tell us what you think concerning WTV Sports Center and the stories that you would like us to discuss. Our Twitter handle is the WTVKE. You can always use the hashtag Sports Center, and on Twitter is WTV Kenya. See you next weekend.